back to Howland. We're speaking with the legendary Van Williams, the Green Hornet.
Ooh.
Van, I gotta ask you, in watching the Green Hornet episodes, it seems like there were a lot of stunts involved and a lot of action. Were you actually involved with this, or how did they
Yeah, I did most of my own stunts, and I had my stuntman, Benny Dobbins. He then followed what I did, or I followed what he did, and we matched it all up, and that was the fun part of the show. It really was. Yeah, we did a lot of stunts, a lot of stuff with Bruce, a lot of fight scenes, a lot of chase scenes in the car. That was the fun part of the show. It really was.
The Green Hornet and Kato appeared on a Batman episode, I think. What are your memories of that? I think Bruce Lee and Robin had it out there a little bit.
Oh yeah,
huh?
Bruce was going to walk off the show because he didn't want to go against Burt Ward and lose. So I think they finally came up with a draw, which was really quite farcical in itself.
Yeah, like Bruce Lee would have had a hard time handling Boy Wonder, right?
Right.
How about you and Batman?
Well, the only thing that I remember about the show was they made a stamp out of me, so it really impressed me.
That's right, that's right. Were you disappointed, Van, that the Green Hornet program didn't last longer than one full season?
To be honest with you, Hal, I was so tired at the end of that thing. We put in a lot of long hours and everything else. I was probably pretty glad that the show was going off.
Would it maybe have worked better as an hour show, maybe?
Oh, yeah. That's what they tried to do.
Oh, really?
They gave, towards the end, they made I think it was two-hour shows, trying to convince ABC that they needed an hour to show everything, besides just doing the stunts and a simple little story. You can't, in 23 or 4 minutes, which is really all you have in a 30-minute show, when you take the commercials out. You just didn't have a time to, like he never had any romance, Brett Reed never had any romance. I mean, if they did, it was very infantile. There was just a lot of problems with it. So they tried to convince ABC, let's do it as an hour.
I see.
They didn't want to do it as an hour because it was a half-hour show against 2-hour shows, and they were beating the 2-hour shows. So
I see.
I don't know.
Well, it's too bad it didn't last, but I have to say the Green Hornet's coming back pretty strong in reruns now. It's on in several markets around the country, so I think a new audience is rediscovering the production excellence.
Yeah, I was just back in Chicago not too long ago, and since it's been on there, we got a whole new set of young kids that have really become hero fans.
Well, another thing that's out there now is the memorabilia. I brought a few of my items from my personal collection. Here's the famous flasher disc. Can we get a close-up going of that here? This is pretty rare stuff these days. I mean, you go to these conventions and items like this. I got my Green Hornet coloring book here. How you doing? So, I'm amazed to see the value or the price that people
if I would have only known, I would have stored that in a railroad car or something and become a millionaire, because that stuff is worth a fortune.
You don't have the original costume?
I have nothing.
You're kidding.
Nothing except what you gave me.
Well, the other thing with the Green Hornet, I think, that makes it very appealing to a broad audience is that Britt Reed, the Green Hornet, was a very believable character. He was kind of like James Bond, don't you think?
Yeah, I think we wanted to play it, or at least I wanted to play it that way, and I did, and got some criticism for it, but that was really the only way that I was going to play this, and I told Dozier that, the executive producer, before I ever did the show, that it was going to be straight, it wasn't going to be the whip, wham, bam, zam that they did with, which was their own way of doing things. I'm not criticizing that show.
Because Batman was successful that way, but
very successful that way. But the Green Hornet was a successful radio show that we really had to follow that format.
Right.
And it's as far as I was concerned, we did a good job with it. And I'm looking at those shows right now, and I'm seeing some shows that are just equal to anything they can do right now.
Absolutely.
They really
Absolutely.
Are. Thank you.
Well, I got a little surprise for you. It's probably not something you'd expect from a mensch like myself to come up with at the last minute. But we brought a old friend of yours from the Green Hornet show here to join us here in Howland for our special Shamrock Green Day Spectacular. Sparky, could we run a clip of Miss Lenore Case, the Green Hornet secretary?
Good. Miss Case.
I'm talking about Wende Wagner, ladies and gentlemen. So let's put them together, because we got her here today. You know what I'm saying. Miss Wende Wagner, ladies and gentlemen. Come on, Wendy. All right.
Hey,
good
girl.
to see you.
Good to see you.
Well, how nice
You're looking
to see
great.
you.
Yeah. What's the hat?
Let me get my clip going here. That's my favorite fishing hat, my lucky fishing hat.
Wow.
All right, that's very cute.
Wendy, we want to talk about where you're at today in the fishing world and with photography, but of course in Howland we also focus on 60s pop culture.
Right.
So tell us, what was it like working with my pal over here on the Greenway?
It was the best. It really was.
Oh.
The cast, the crew, absolutely everybody on that show was more darn fun.
Really?
And it was very lively. As a matter of fact, I don't ever really remember any dissension. Sometimes people, get uptight and you have a tight schedule to make, and there's grumbling and whatnot. But this show was really fun most of the time.
It really was.
It really
It was a
We
fun
had a
show to
lot
do.
of laughs, and we worked very hard, but it was great fun.
Are you surprised, Van and I were mentioning a minute ago about this new resurgence of the Green Hornet,
Yeah,
particularly
I'm
the
amazed.
television show?
Absolutely amazed.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you getting any fan letters these days, or do you keep a low profile?
I keep a very low profile.
Wow. Well, tell us what you're doing these days. I've heard you're involved with the fishing world in some respect.
Yeah, I'm a writer-photographer for an outdoor fishing magazine.
We're going to show some of your photos.
And I also am an artist, and I do my photography, collage work combined with my paintings.
Wow.
And I just came back from an exhibit in the south of France where they exhibited my work in the
You're
Acropolis,
kidding.
which is the Palace of Fine Arts in Nice, France.
I mean, that's fantastic.
Thank you.
Wow. And Dan, I didn't get a chance to ask you, what's the Green Hornet up to these days?
Well, besides the ranching business, got a ranch in Hawaii, one in Texas. I've got a communications company here in Santa Monica called KHM Communications. We rent pagers and handy-talkies and do two-way radio, and I've been doing that since 1971.
And I should probably mention that the Green Hornet is also a real-life crime fighter himself. He works for the Malibu Sheriff's Department, am I mistaken?
Well, it's the L.A. County Sheriff's Department. I just happen to be attached to the Malibu station. Yeah, I've been very active with that since about I guess it was 70. And up until about 2 years ago when I injured my back real bad, I was very, very active. I worked, 3 or 4 or 5 times a month. In fact, I used to come by and see Wendy in uniform.
Right.
And we'd sit and watch the fish.
All right.